Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you are here. My name is Cornelius. I am a 21-year veteran of the United States Army. Now I'm on the second phase of my life. I am happily married. I am a husband. I have wonderful children from this marriage and my previous marriage. And I'm going to be speaking to you about my youngest son that I have. He's a toddler named Elijah, and he is on the autism spectrum. So first, let me say, Elijah is an amazing little young bundle of joy, bundle of love and happiness and everything, man. This guy is just my superhero. He means everything to me, and I'm so happy to have the privilege of being Elijah's dad. The main thing I want to focus on with this is just to share my story a little bit about how and the day that my son was actually diagnosed to be on the autism spectrum. So look, full transparency, my wife was the first one to kind of see some of the symptoms that we identified with autism, and it kind of drew a little bit of a flag, not a red flag, right, but a flag to kind of be aware of these things and maybe seek a little bit of guidance as far as what's going on, right? So there are a few different things that popped out that stood out to her and I concerning this, which prompt us to seek medical advice, right, from a specialist to see if these things apply to him, right? Or if we were just making these things up in our mind. We really didn't know what it was, but truth be told, my wife did a pretty good job at, just doing a little bit of research, not self-diagnosing him, but she saw some things that were kind of there that made us open our eyes to the possibility that there might be something going on. So the first thing that we identified was that my son, when he was around, the age of like 1.5 or so, he would do this thing when he was playing, we're just playing around, just, being a baby, right? But he would sit on the ground on his butt, right? But then he'll start to spin around. And when he was doing the spinning, it's like it was continuous spinning. He would never get dizzy and stop, right? He would just keep on doing it. But when he did, his eyes would kind of lock like to one side or the other. I think they were locking to the left, and he would just keep on spinning and spinning. And when you look at some of the things that are identified with young children and autism, that's one of the flags that do come up. Another one that we had was that he was doing, with his hands, it was flapping in the hands, right? Flapping in the hands, when he's just running around playing, but he would have that there. It wasn't severe, wasn't all the time, but it was enough, right, to kind of stand out as something that we kind of noticed, right? A little bit later on, we kind of found out that those are things that are related to a thing called stimming. The last two things that we saw is that, with him being closer to that 2, like that 1.5, 2, we didn't really see any words, which, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of kids at that age that don't have words. But again, we're just putting these things together and they kind of added up to something that may be there. But, we weren't getting any mama, dad, nothing like that. So again, this was just something else that we kind of noticed that we just had a question about. And the very last thing that was a big thing that stood out to us is that Elijah had a difficult time sleeping throughout the night. So, even throughout the day, and trust me, at the time we worked with them as far as keeping him up, getting him on a regular schedule, try to take naps in the middle of the day, so on and so forth. But even when we had those days to where he was up most of the day, took a nap around noonish, 1, 2 time, no matter what, if we went to bed at 8, 9, 10, he would still want to waking up maybe 2, 3 hours later, and consistently, like, within 2-3 hour gaps, waking up, wanting to play, wanting a bottle of milk, so on and so forth. And it's been that way for the longest period of time. So, we were kind of like, yeah, like, there might be something going on here. Obviously, it was very draining. It was a really difficult time because I still work full time. My wife works full time. Thankfully, we work from home, right? And super thankful for that. But still, it gets draining day after day, and none of us able to get continuous sleep throughout the night. So, with noticing those things, that kind of prompted us to go ahead and make an appointment to go see our doctor to get an evaluation, which we were super blessed to be able to even do that, because a lot of places it's harder and it's difficult for people to even get appointments to even see if their child can be properly diagnosed with autism or if they're not autistic, right? But just getting the evaluation is a challenge in itself. But we were super blessed to be able to be in a position, in a place to where we were able to get that done. So first we had a questionnaire, right? We had a lot of questionnaires, and parents that deal with, a child on the autism spectrum, you definitely know there are millions of questions, right, that you will answer over and over and over. So we had a questionnaire that we had to, where we had to fill out about, the things that Elijah could do, the things he could not do, all different types of questions. And I was thankful for it, because even though we had things that we wanted to bring up, the questionnaires were really detailed into going into so many specific things that you wouldn't even think about, as a parent, just to bring up. So we went ahead, we did that questionnaire, we got scheduled for the appointment. And when we went in, it was maybe about 2 weeks later or so, we were able to get our appointment to go see the doctor, and the staff was super professional, very great. We came in, we had our questionnaires that we filled out with us. We had a nurse that came in that worked hand in hand with the doctor to go over more questions with us, right, on top of the ones that we did, just to really understand not only the mechanics of what Elijah was and was not doing, but really to understand who is Elijah, right? Who is he? What makes him who he is, the things that he likes, the things that he doesn't like, the things that he's good at. And we went over those things as well. And again, this questionnaire that we went through was super, super detailed, which again, I appreciated, because it can feel a little bit overwhelming when you're going over all these questions. It was also that sense of I'm glad that they're thinking about asking me all these different things that I would have never really thought about, or maybe, would not have crossed my mind, especially at the time. And between the questionnaire that we had before and the questions that we had on site, they covered so much ground, and we were really thankful for that, because they were very detail oriented. The nurse went ahead and she started doing a physical evaluation with Elijah, which means she kind of went into what looked like to Elijah playtime. They were playing with blocks. They had all these different toys and everything. So they sat down on the floor and they were playing, going through these activities, having him go through different sets of skills and different sets of play and listening, and all that was all part of evaluating where he was on the spectrum of his age and the things that he couldn't do, and obviously addressing or looking for the things that we had concerns with. So while she was doing that, the doctor was asking us, going over some of the questions that we did, and it was kind of a weird feeling, because I think timeline wise, it started to set in, we're really going to get an answer to this, The doctor spoke to us, went over a few more things, and then she also turned her attention to Elijah, to just, again, going through some motions, going through some things, calling his name, trying to say, hey, Elijah, look, going through different colors, shapes, everything, just trying to get a really good idea of where he was. So after the nurse and the doctor were done, going through all the hands-on exercises with him, which that whole thing probably took about 15-20 minutes. Then she let us know. She's like, hey, I got all my information. I'm gonna go ahead and step out. We're gonna go over the information, me and my nurse, and we'll get right back. We'll be right back here and we'll talk over our findings. When the doctor stepped out, then that was the time where it started to hit me man, what are we going to find out? What are we going to hear? I have never had any experience, dealing with anyone that was autistic. I've heard of autism over the years, but I never really knew what it was, or how it affects you. I didn't know anything about exactly what autism was. So mind you, at the time, I'm still sitting there and I'm still kind of gray on what this thing even is and what, what's going on. Plus, I'm concerned, like, is she going to come back and tell me that my son is actually on the autism spectrum? So me and my wife shared, a few little words together, just checking in on each other to see how we're feeling, because we definitely both had the nerves that were going on. After maybe about, I want to say about 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes or so, the doctor came back in, and as professional as she could, she sat down, she explained to us that her nurse spoke, they went over everything, over the results, and they told us that yes, Elijah is on the autism spectrum, and that he also has a sleep disorder as well. So for me as a father, man, look, I'm supposed to be protecting my son, right? I'm supposed to be protecting my family. I'm supposed to look out for him. And I had a sense of that I kind of failed him, as if this was my fault. I was sitting there going through thoughts of like, man, in the military, I had all these shots. I wonder if any of these shots, in my blood, kind of made this happen. Choices that I made in life. I'm just thinking about all these different things that were non-productive. Guilt, right? Like a lot of guilt as far as what have I done to cause this to be the case with my son. But the thing about it is that as fast as those thoughts came, they left just that fast. In general, you can always deal with a situation that right? If you know the situation that you're dealing with, you can look at it. You can choose to look at it and deal with it straight on. It was like immediately I also had a sense of relief, like, okay, I got it now. I know what's going on with my son. I know what it is. And even though I did not fully understand what it was, it put me in a place of being like, okay, I need to learn what this is so I can address it and get my son the support and the help that he needs. So, look, even though emotionally I was kind of all over the place, my wife helped me, right, to keep me level-headed and just to stay in a place of like, okay, we know what it is now. And again, it was a huge relief. Okay, so now that we know what it is it that we need to do moving forward? Because I had a big blank canvas that I needed to fill as far as what life looks like for my son. Not only now, but as we move forward. Obviously, we're here. We're going to take care of him the best that we can. We're going to do everything that we can for him. But, I was wondering, what is life going to look for him 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years from now in dealing with where he is on this autism spectrum? And the reason why I emphasize autism spectrum, because after finding out that Elijah was diagnosed with autism, I also found out that two stories are not the same. There are so many nuances, and that's the reason why they emphasize spectrum when it comes to people that are diagnosed. I went on ahead, I got out there, typical guy stuff. I got on YouTube, right? I got on the internet and I started to research and I started to find out exactly what this is. It comes with a caveat. There's so much information about autism. One big key that I found out is that you have to also understand your child. Simply because there's so much information on autism, it all doesn't apply to every individual diagnosed with autism. Certain things apply to some people on the spectrum, some things don't. That's why they call it a spectrum, right? It's all over the place. So you have to do some research, but you have to also understand your child, see them for who they are, see the things they do that they cannot do, where their challenges are, so where their strengths are, and you have to be able to work with those things. The diagnosis of autism tells you broadly where they are, but it's on you as the parent to get involved and to understand and to get the information so that you can understand your particular child's needs, so you can get them as much support as they can get. Yes, I definitely as a father had that feeling of like, man, I'm just not going to take the seat back, right? I'm also going to be involved heavy as well. So, we found out, about the information to get him to speech therapy. We got information about getting him occupational therapy, and we looked at different places together, to figure out where we wanted to get him. And as of today, right now, we do have a place that we take him to speech therapy twice a week. We have a place that we take him to occupational therapy once a week, and we feel good about the places that we selected. But mind you, there's so many different resources that are out there, and those are more the things I'll talk to you about a little bit later on when it comes to autism and getting the support that you need. I'm not a subject matter expert, right? I'm a dad, I'm a parent out here like a lot of you are, but maybe you guys will have some things to share with me as well, because what I have found is that sometimes you can feel like you're on an island by yourself. And obviously, again, I'm not talking about, the support of my wife, but I'm saying still you can have that feeling of, I'm the only one dealing with this. And what I have found is that there's a huge community of people that are out there that are dealing with similar things. And what I am finding now as I'm recording this is that talking about this, sharing it, is helpful. That's all I got for today. I hope this has been helpful for somebody. If you did watch this all the way through, thank you so much. This is my first video, but there will definitely be more to come in the near future. If you have any questions or any suggestions, please hit me up in the comments. I do plan on getting into comments. That's the reason why I'm making this video, so I can interact, so I can talk with other people that have children, right? Other fathers that are dealing with a child on the autism spectrum, for sure. If you feel you found value in this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let me know you like what's going on, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Y'all take it easy. Peace.